Hi, everybody. Great to see everybody. We are so excited to be here. And February is Heart Month, Heart Health Month, and we cannot do Heart Health Month without talking to Nordic Naturals, one of our favorite companies. That's so exciting. So we have Kira with us today. And Kira, would you mind saying your last name first? I know it's a good German name.
Absolutely. It's just pronounced Dieselkamp.
Yep, that's how I would have said it. German from way back. Great heritage there.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for being with us. We're so excited to have you. Tell us a little bit about yourself if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am on the education team here at Nordic Naturals. Of course, at Nordic Naturals, we spend an awful lot of time talking about the omega-3 fatty acids, but
Mm-hmm.
my background is in human nutrition and dietetics. My degree is from Colorado State University. Born and raised here in Colorado, I am a
Awesome.
100% mountain girl. I ski and I rock climb and I hike, and I just love talking about human health in every respect. So,
Perfect. Oh, that's
yeah.
wonderful. So, kindred spirits, absolutely. Because health is everything.
Yeah.
So, we are going to get started pretty quickly because we don't want to run out of time. This is such an important subject and one that I don't know, with all of the mess in the world today, maybe is getting overlooked a little bit and is actually more important than ever.
Yes.
Keeping heart health and stress under control.
Yeah.
Let's get started right away. So of course we're discussing omega-3 fatty acids today, and the importance to our heart health. So how about just give us a quick overview, a little refresher to make sure everyone's on the same page to start out.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to just talk quickly about what omega-3 fatty acids are, because it's really hard to understand how they're going to help every single system in the body,
Right.
especially heart health, unless we understand what they are. And just quickly, first, you mentioned kind of with everything going on in the world and people really focusing on their health and their stress, omega-3 fatty acids are critical for maintaining a healthy heart, but they have been very well researched for every system in the body,
Mm-hmm.
even including helping to balance out and support the immune system.
Right.
So I'll just throw that out there because you mentioned it. But basically, the omega-3 fatty acids are a class of nutrient that are considered essential in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we're talking about essential nutrients, that just means that it's a nutrient that the body needs for important biological functions, but the body can't make it on its own, meaning we
Mm-hmm.
have to consume it through the diet or through supplementation, of course. So when we're talking about the omega-3 fats, they are fatty acids. And I think for
Mm-hmm.
that reason, they kind of get overlooked because they're not as talked about like other essential nutrients, like an essential vitamin, like vitamin C, or an
Mm-hmm.
essential mineral, like calcium. But these fats are actually every bit as important biologically to our cells as other essential nutrients. So these fatty acids are polyunsaturated, meaning they're a little bit different than a saturated fat, like a fat that you would find in butter or lard or something that's solid at room temperature. They have a very, very unique molecular structure, which makes them liquid at room temperature, but also because of this unique molecular structure, plays really important functions in our bodies once they're incorporated into our cells, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. That's awesome. That is a great explanation, and we certainly appreciate that to start us off with. So, of course, they're important for every system of the body. So, of course, the heart health. So, what makes it so important for our hearts?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, when we're talking about omega-3s in relation to heart health, what we're really looking at is the entirety of the cardiovascular system.
Hmm.
So, the heart muscle, of course, is really an important piece, but then also thinking about our arteries
Right.
and our veins, the kind of channels in our body that
Hmm.
are carrying blood from the heart to the rest of the tissues. So the omega-3 fatty acids, as I alluded to, play two really, really important functions within our cardiovascular system. One, these fats actually live inside our cell membranes.
Hmm.
So every single
Okay.
cell in the body um, has an outer cell membrane. And this is where a lot of the fats that we eat live and play important functions within that cell. So because of their really unique molecular structure, omega-3 fatty acids are able to offer flexibility and fluidity to a cell versus the cell being very like rigid and inflexible and hard. So if we're thinking about, let's say, a cardiac myocyte, which is a fancy word for a heart cell, we certainly want that cell to be fluid and flexible and able to communicate with other cells. And that's, of course, especially important when we're thinking about the cells, our endothelial cells that line our blood vessels and our arteries, because we need those arteries to remain fluid and flexible so that blood can flow in and out. And then second, the other really important function that these fats play within the body is they're actually the precursor molecules to resolving and protecting molecules within the body. So they, once released from their cell membranes, they're converted into molecules that we call eicosanoids or prostaglandins. These are really, really important molecules within the immune system that actually regulate inflammation. So what the omega-3 fats do, is they actually are able to reduce and support a healthy inflammatory response through a multitude of mechanisms. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what we're really referring to is a cell's ability to resolve once a stressor has occurred, or to actually finalize the healing process. And omega-3s contribute to that in a really big way.
Well, and that, I think that's one of the most important things, because we know things are going to impact our bodies, but being able to recover from those things is really the key. So we need to give our bodies the right tools.
Yep, you're exactly right. We're always going to experience cellular stressors, but without these omega-3 fatty acids, the body has a really hard time healing and recovering once they have occurred.
Excellent. So a really good reason to make sure that you are on your fish oil every day. All right. So let's talk about blood pressure, triglycerides, those blood fats that, you know, those scary numbers when they start creeping up. How do omega-3s support healthy levels of those?
Yeah, really good question. So I'm sure most people joining us today are aware that there are two really important pieces to addressing overall heart health. Anytime you go to your doctor, of course, they're going to usually measure your blood pressure, and they're going to measure your triglyceride levels, because they play a really important role in being able to evaluate risk for cardiovascular disease or ill heart conditions. So blood pressure is one of the things that omega-3s have been really, really well studied to support. One of the reasons, again, is because they're able to offer fluidity and flexibility to our arteries. Blood pressure, of course, gets elevated when the pressure of blood flowing through our arteries is too great. And we start to see this hardening of the artery walls. So in recent years, there's actually been a lot of research published on specifically the blood pressure lowering mechanisms of the omega-3 fatty acids. There was a large meta-analysis published just a couple years ago, if that showed, and to review for your audience, a meta-analysis is a form of research design where researchers are taking a lot at least more than one scientific studies, usually randomized controlled trials, and usually really in-depth statistical analysis to pull a common conclusion from all of them. So there was one meta-analysis that pooled most of the evidence to date on blood pressure, and it found that not only can omega-3 fatty acids lower systolic blood pressure, which is that first top number, but more than 2,000 milligrams a day for most people is going to also reduce diastolic blood pressure, which is huge. In this particular study, interestingly, the researchers also found that supplementing with 2 grams or more of omega-3 EPA and DHA a day was actually at least as effective, if not more effective, at least as effective as changing other lifestyle factors like increasing exercise or reducing sodium in the diet. So that's really good news to a lot of people who maybe have it with those.
So let's just make sure that our viewers know the systolic is whenever the heart beats. correct? The
Yes.
pressure, that, and the diastolic is that continued pressure. So
Yes.
the lower the diastolic pressure, the better off you are. And of course, your systolic pressure too, but that bottom number is just a hugely important number.
It is, because it's the pressure in your arteries in
That
between heart.
yeah, right.
So you can really tell from
Absolutely.
that number kind of what's going on in the arteries.
Tells a big picture.
Yeah.
Definitely. Let me see. We just had a question come in from Darcy. Hi, Darcy. Good to see you. Can you talk about the ratios? Often hear about that's important in a supplement, please. Darcy, ratios, I'm not sure exactly what ratios you mean. So if you want to comment again on that,
We can answer in a second after she comments, but I'm guessing she probably is wondering about the EPA to
DHA, yes, and we will definitely get to that. I know we will. So
yeah, and I can cover because I know triglycerides are another part of that question as well.
Yes,
so,
let's move on with that too.
Yeah, triglycerides are really interesting. Triglycerides, when a doctor measures your triglycerides on a lipid panel, basically what the doctor is measuring is how much fat you have circulating in your bloodstream. Interestingly, this number usually doesn't correlate to the amount of fat that you're eating in your diet, but actually the amount of carbohydrates and sugar that you're eating.
Yes, it's a killer everywhere.
It is, because the liver is very, very efficient at taking excess calories, usually from sugar, converting them into triglycerides or fat molecules, and then sending them out via lipoproteins into the bloodstream to be stored in our adipose or fat tissue. So when we're measuring triglycerides, we're measuring how much extra consumed calories basically you have circulating in your bloodstream. And it's a really important risk factor. So the omega-3 fatty acids have been really well studied. In recent years, there have been 22 meta-analyses published, and every single one of them has showed a significant decrease in circulating triglycerides.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, one of the studies actually looked at 38 randomized controlled trials with over 2,000 patients or subjects, and found up to a 26% reduction in total triglycerides when supplementing with 2 grams or more of EPA and DHA a day.
Nice. That's awesome. And people, cut the sugar.
I know.
Stop it. Just stop it. Did you hear what it does? Your body turns it into fat in your blood. As if that's not enough, right? All right. So Darcy is talking about the ratio of EPA DHA. So we will get to that. We promise, Darcy. So stay tuned.
Yes.
We will not go without that. So there was a study, a huge study published in September of last year, which clarified a lot of confusion in the research. Would you mind talking about that a little bit, the effect of the omega-3 dose on cardiovascular outcome?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm sure a lot of our audience today has seen headlines in the news, in the newspaper, and magazines. Despite the hype, omega-3 fatty acids have no effect on supporting heart health, or, you see a lot of news headlines like this, and it leads to so much confusion. So it's really important to remember that omega-3s are some of the most abundantly studied nutrients in modern science. We have over 40,000 studies on these 2 nutrients alone.
They're one of the originals.
So when we're really thinking about this in heart health, it's important to look at the totality of the research and not really get focused on one news headline or one research that failed to reach a significant outcome. So to kind of clear up the confusion, there was a huge meta-analysis that was published just September of last year, and it was published in the Mayo Clinic Proceedings, so a really well-respected upper-tier medical journal, and it was done by GOED, the Global Organization for EPA and DHA. And what they wanted to do is review all of the evidence to date and really come up with a conclusion of how omega-3 fatty acids are impacting heart health. And they came to some pretty significant conclusions. Let me look at my notes here just so I can give you the right numbers.
Oh, sure.
But what they found was a 35% reduction in fatal myocardial infarction, which is fatal heart attack. So a 35%
is huge.
It's huge. That's huge. And I'll say quickly, in this study, dose ranges of fish oil a day went from 500 milligrams a day all the way up to 5,000 milligrams a day. And they did find more significant results with higher dosages.
Okay.
So a 35% reduction in fatal heart attack, a 13% reduction in just regular heart attack that didn't lead to death,
Okay.
10% reduced risk of coronary heart disease events, and a 9% reduced risk of coronary heart disease mortality. So a 9% reduced risk of dying from coronary heart disease.
Those
So
are
it
great
was a
numbers.
study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff because that's something that's so easy to do and
Right.
something that, it's just kind of a no-brainer.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, it really is. So.
And it's good for your brain too. We're not even going there. It's not brain month,
we
but
touched that yet.
yeah, exactly. All right. So let's talk American Heart Association for a moment and recommend for someone looking to maintain a healthy heart. What do they recommend?
Yeah, what's great is we can always point to the American Heart Association if people are still skeptical, because the American Heart Association continues to recommend the consumption of cold water fatty fish or fish oil as being cardioprotective. If you search omega-3s into the search bar on the American Heart Association website, you get over 600 articles, everything from their benefits to good recipes to cook fish with, like everything, because they're really trying to get people to increase their consumption.
Right.
So they recommend for overall heart health maintenance a minimum dose of 1,000 milligrams combined EPA and DHA a day. But for someone really looking to improve a health outcome, like lowering triglycerides, lowering blood pressure, they actually suggest up to 4,000 milligrams a day. Either through food or supplementation, but a lot of people are going to find
this is actually a case where more is better.
Yes.
So. And I would just note that please don't ever use farmed fish.
Yes, thank you.
Just a little aside there. Don't do it. All right. So most people are not getting that recommended amount of the omega-3s. Why? Why do you think that is?
There's several reasons, and it's a good question, an important one to address. The omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA, those important ones we've been talking about, are exclusively found in marine life. They are exclusively found in high quality cold water fatty fish or in algae. The algae is actually what the fish eat for it to concentrate in their bodies. So we're obviously, as Americans, not eating a whole lot of good, high quality seafood. What we are eating a lot of are foods that are high in omega-3s counterpart fat, omega-6s. And we didn't really touch a whole lot on omega-6s today. They are actually another, omega-6s are another essential fatty acid. So of course they are critical to consume. They actually have an opposite role within our cells. So they're actually the compounds and the nutrients that turn the inflammatory response on to initiate the healing process, which is important. But the problem really comes when that becomes chronic and we don't have enough of the omega-3s to then finalize the healing process. So omega-6s are found abundantly in everything that we eat in the standard American diet. They are found everywhere, everything you can imagine, every processed and packaged good, all of the industrial seed oils that we use to process and cook our food in, corn, soy. Our consumption of soybean oil in this country has increased 1,000-fold from 1909 to 1999. It increased 1,000-fold. Not only that, but omega-6s are found really abundantly in industrially raised animal products like milk, cheeses, meats, and even in foods that we consider to be healthier, like nuts, grains, and seeds. So when we think about the amount of omega-6 fats that we consume on a daily basis, thinking about just getting 4 grams or 4,000 milligrams of omega-3 from fish oil really then doesn't seem like all that much. Because we're getting so many grams of omega-6 fats just from our diet.
And we need to counteract those in a way, even though we need some of them. It's kind of like that, things in moderation.
Exactly. And it's that balance of omega-6s to omega-3s that the research shows is really vital.
Absolutely. Just remember that all those omega-6s can turn on too much inflammation. And we need some, but we don't need too
Exactly.
much. And that's the overabundance of that is damaging to our bodies. So we need those omega-3s to balance that out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's take a minute and tackle Darcy's question now about the EPA-DHA ratio. And
Yes.
let's talk about what EPA does and what DHA does
Yeah,
and things like that.
absolutely. Yep. And it's a question I get a lot. So it was a good one. Thank you, Darcy. EPA and DHA, although they're both omega-3s, they do kind of have different roles in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So DHA is really, it's the longest of the fatty acid chains, just meaning there's 22 carbon molecules versus just 20 in EPA.
Okay.
And it's really what we consider to be our neck up structural fat. It plays an absolutely vital role in laying the foundation as a building block for our neuronal membranes. So when we're looking to support anything that's related to cognition or brain health, learning, memory, focus and attention, anything like that, we're really going to be looking for a product that probably has more DHA than EPA because it's really that foundational building block structural fat.
So I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but that's why it's so important for pregnant moms and babies to make sure they're getting their prenatal and, the DHA and everything.
Exactly, because that DHA accumulates into the developing nervous system in that third trimester of pregnancy, which is just absolutely critical to set the stage for the rest of their life, really.
That's right, absolutely. So then the EPA.
So then EPA is what we consider to really be the neck down functional fat. So this is the fatty acid that, as I mentioned, is going to be really readily released from our cell membranes and converted into those resolving molecules. So they're the one, the EPA is really the fat that's the calmer, the protector, the anti-inflammator. So when we're looking to support things like heart health, lung health, joints, skin health, anything that's really that functional role, EPA is going to be the fat you're looking for. So the ratio doesn't necessarily make the biggest difference. What's so important to remember is that 95% of Americans are deficient in these fatty acids. Right. So try not to get too hung up on what ratio you need. And just remember, if you're getting these fats in your body in any way, it's going to be very beneficial. But if you're looking to support heart health, probably go with a formula that's higher in EPA. If you're looking to support brain health, probably go with a formula that's higher in DHA. That being said, the big meta-analysis that we just talked about, it did actually look into whether a formula of EPA alone would be better for heart health. And what they found that is no, it didn't really make a difference. That mixing the two fats was really kind of the most important.
Well, and that actually does make sense because that's the way it's found naturally. And all those things that are found naturally are usually the most beneficial. When we take it and try and change it in any way, that's when we get into trouble.
Nature always knows best. Yes. Always.
Absolutely. So, and I know there's, so if people are looking to increase their consumption of omega-3s, what should they be looking for in a supplement? I know that people are concerned about mercury because, there's so much contamination in the ocean. And how does Nordic make sure that that's not happening? And what should they be looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important that you are looking for a very fresh and a very pure product when you are shopping for an omega-3 supplement. Of course, environmental toxins like mercury, PCBs, other compounds are of concern. But what's also of big concern is just how delicate these omega-3 fats are. They are really, really prone to becoming oxidized and rancid. And when you're taking an oxidized fish oil, just because they're such fragile molecules, you're going to have that fish burp back, that negative experience that people always dread when taking a fish oil. So Nordic Naturals, we really go to great lengths to provide the purest and the freshest fish oil really on the planet. We've been the #1 selling brand of fish oil for a very long time. Our oxidation levels are unparalleled in the industry, and that's because we use a manufacturing process that keeps oxygen away from the oils, so they can't ever start breaking down. We use this nitrogen blanketed environment, and what that really does for our health, it means that we're getting a fully intact, undamaged omega-3 molecule, but it also means we're not going to have that negative experience of burping up a fishy taste or anything like that.
So let's not bypass that too quickly, because I think, we hear so many people coming in like, oh, I don't want to take fish oil because I just always taste it and I hate that. And, we say to them, well, then that's not one that you should be taking.
Exactly.
And yeah, absolutely. So, that's a really important factor. So if you can taste your fish oil,
it's not good quality.
right.
You
Yes.
shouldn't taste it.
Yes.
And then as far as the mercury and environmental toxin concern, at Nordic Naturals, we actually use a third-party laboratory to test every single batch of product that leaves our door. So we're testing for the environmental toxins, including mercury. We're testing for oxidation, dose efficacy, and customers can actually find their certificate of analysis on our website for their particular product. Nice. As far as mercury goes, we always come back on our tests well below the international allowable standards for fish oil. So
excellent. Yeah, it's quality of a product. You always get what you pay for, and that is just not more true than in the realm of fish oil supplements and getting those EPA DHA, really good quality for the body so that it's usable.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, that's great. And we just appreciate your time with us today so very much. This flew by. I can't believe how fast that it's gone. Just make sure that we don't have any other questions. Darcy, I hope that answered your question, because, that was a great explanation of the DHA neck up and EPA shoulders down. But the combination is also very, very important. So I hope that was a great answer to your question, Darcy. I know that was very helpful to all of us. Kira, we thank you so much. And we always finish up with a Bible verse to finish out our show. And today I couldn't decide, so I actually have two. And it's Heart Health Month. And so these are Bible verses about your heart. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life." And not only our heart, like, our spiritual heart, but our heart health too. So, get that DHA for your heart, because out of your heart flow the springs of life. And then one of my favorites is Proverbs 17:22. "A joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones." And I think that that's something that we can all attest to, that when we're joyful, we feel healthy. And that's what we love around here at the Health Hut. We take joy in our Health Hut customers and our Health Hut family, and we take joy in all of our companies that we have that are such good quality. And we've had Nordic, oh my goodness, as long as I can remember, here in the store. Yeah, so we just love you guys, and we always appreciate the support that we get from you. So,
thank you. Kira, well, thank you so much for having me today. This was so much fun.
Oh, awesome. It was fun for us too. And I know all of our viewers will really enjoy this today and on in the future, because lots of good things to learn.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks,
let's do this
Kira.
again.
I can't wait. Anytime. Thanks so much, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Love you.